Okay, but what you are doing right now is highlighting something and making more of a spectacle. So if your office in general does not want to facilitate and or incite violence, then we need to just sit down and move on. That's it.
In today's video, we're going to watch instances from court where judges lost their temper. Darrell Brooks. Darrell Brooks Jr. has been sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of extended supervision for his actions in driving his SUV into a Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin last year, causing the death of 6 people and injuring dozens more. A jury found him guilty on all 76 counts related to the attack, including 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide using a dangerous weapon. Judge Jennifer Darrow handed down the mandated sentence after hearing statements from the victims and their families over 2 days. Brooks will serve a life sentence for each of the first-degree homicide counts, and these sentences will run consecutively. Additionally, he will receive hundreds of years in prison for the remaining 70 counts on which he was found guilty, including 17 and a half years for each of the 61 counts of first-degree recklessly endangering safety using a dangerous weapon. During the sentencing, Judge Darrow emphasized Brooks' lack of remorse and empathy, stating that no one is safe from him. Brooks spoke for no more than 2 hours, expressing his struggle to understand why the tragedy occurred. He refrained from launching personal attacks, but criticized the integrity of the Waukesha County District Attorney Susan Opper and claimed his crimes were none of her concern. Brooks' grandmother, Mary Edwards, expressed her hope for a sincere and humble apology from him, and she apologized to those affected by her grandson's actions. Brooks, representing himself, apologized once, stating he feels remorse in his heart, though others may not fully see it. He mentioned shedding countless tears over the years since the incident. Brooks was highly disruptive throughout the proceedings, arguing with the judge and bringing up irrelevant matters in front of the jury. One instance involved Brooks taking issue with how paperwork was provided to him, but the judge firmly addressed the matter and instructed him to raise such concerns with the court clerk. Despite being warned about his disruptive behavior, Brooks continued his interruptions and the judge considered removing him from the courtroom. Eventually, Brooks was found guilty on all counts, including 6 charges of first-degree intentional homicide, and he is now facing life imprisonment. Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse was found not guilty on all charges after his trial for shooting 3 men, 2 of whom died, during protest in Kenosha, Wisconsin in 2020. The protest erupted following a white police officer shooting and injuring Jacob Blake, a black man. Rittenhouse, who carried a firearm, joined others to protect businesses during the protests. The shootings occurred on the 3rd night of protests. Rittenhouse faced 6 charges, including homicide, but 1 charge related to weapons was dismissed during the trial. The jury deliberated for over 3 days before reaching the verdict. The trial had several crazy moments, including Judge Bruce Schroeder making decisions on describing the victims and responding to defense team suggestions about Apple's technology in the courtroom. The judge also reprimanded the prosecution during cross-examination for questioning Rittenhouse's post-arrest silence, which was not allowed. During the trial, Rittenhouse defended his actions, saying he was trying to protect people and carrying a rifle for self-defense. Wisconsin allows open carry of firearms, but minors are generally not allowed to carry weapons in public. Judge Schroeder, known for his emphasis on civic duty, made the jury selection process unique by using trivia questions, similar to a game show. He also sympathized with the defense team regarding using Apple's pinch-to-zoom feature on evidence. Ultimately, Rittenhouse was acquitted on all counts, and the verdict was reached on November 19th, following a trial that garnered significant attention and controversy. Judge Bruce Schroeder expressed dissatisfaction with prosecutor Mark Binger questioning the defendant Kyle Rittenhouse, who had chosen to take the stand. The judge believed Binger was addressing issues ruled inadmissible during the trial. Binger argued that Rittenhouse's responses opened the door to such questioning, but the judge disagreed, stating that he had left the door open for himself, not the prosecutor. The judge was particularly surprised when Binger began commenting on Rittenhouse's post-arrest silence, which, according to the judge, goes against basic law established in the country for decades. The judge questioned why Binger had brought up this matter without advance notice, as it had not been allowed to be presented before the jury. In response to Binger's argument about the defendant's use of the same weapon to protect property, the judge didn't want to rehash the motion and indicated that it was already on record. Henry Segura. Engaging in a heated argument with a judge in court is risky, especially when you're the defendant in a murder trial with jurors closely observing. This was exactly what happened to Henry Segura, a man from Florida, while he was being cross-examined on the witness stand. Judge James Hankinson firmly instructed Segura not to interrupt the prosecutor's questioning. However, Segura protested, claiming the same question was being asked repeatedly. The judge sternly silenced him, demanding his silence until the prosecutor finished asking the question. Seemingly taken aback, Segura questioned the judge's pointed gesture, asserting that he was a grown man. Despite the tense courtroom exchange, the defendant stands trial for the alleged murder of his girlfriend, Brandy Peters, and her 3 children, including their 3-year-old son, Javante Segura, as well as Tamia and Tania Peters, who were not Segura's biological children. Prosecutors argued that his motive was owing over $20,000 in child support for Javante. During direct examination, Segura appeared calmer and downplayed the amount he owed, stating he could present receipts in court to reduce the judgment. He confessed to being unfaithful and married to another woman. However, during cross-examination, Segura maintained that he had no reason to harm the children. Segura testified that he was present at Peters' home on the day of the murders, where they had a sexual encounter before he left for home. He also expressed uncertainty about Javante's biological fatherhood, claiming that Brandy Peters told him he wasn't the father. Segura admitted to contesting child support payments for Javante in written letters during cross-examination. Alex Jones. We cannot start talking about courtroom outbursts and not mention Alex Jones. In a dramatic courtroom confrontation on Thursday, conspiracy theorist Alex Jones clashed with an attorney representing the families of Sandy Hook victims in Connecticut. The families are suing Jones for spreading lies about the 2012 Sandy Hook elementary school shooting in which 26 people were killed. During the trial, attorney Christopher Maddie questioned Jones about his false claim that the shooting was a hoax, which visibly angered Jones, leading him to attack Maddie. Jones accused the attorney of being dishonest and engaging in ambulance chasing. He went on a rant about liberals. Frustrated by Jones's outburst, Judge Barbara Bellis warned him that he must follow court rules and respect the legal process. She reminded him he is in a court of law and must adhere to her instructions. Bellis instructed both parties' counsels to behave appropriately and cautioned that any further violations of court rules could lead to a contempt hearing, which she hoped to avoid. The courtroom exchange came after a day of testimony from Jones, who had not previously appeared in the defamation trial in Connecticut. The trial comes on the heels of a Texas jury's decision to award nearly $50 million to 2 parents in a separate lawsuit against Jones and his company, Free Speech Systems. Jones had falsely claimed to his audience that the Sandy Hook shooting was staged, but later acknowledged the incident's occurrence after facing legal action. In a sworn deposition in 2019, he attributed his false comments to a form of psychosis. Parkland school shooter. Judge Elizabeth Scherer was officially reprimanded by the Florida Judicial Qualifications Commission for how she presided over the death penalty trial of the Parkland school shooter. The commission found that at times her conduct appeared to favor the prosecution. During the trial, there were disagreements and conflicts between Judge Scherer and the lawyers who were defending the shooter. The charges against her mentioned times when she scolded and warned the defense team. After deciding to give the shooter a life sentence in prison with no chance of parole, she showed affection by hugging the prosecutors and the families of the victims. During the trial, Judge Scherer was accused of showing favoritism to the prosecution. The defense team claimed that the state encouraged violence and made inappropriate comments about their children. The judge tried to ease the tension by saying that most of the testimony was appropriate and asked everyone to move forward. However, the defense kept raising the issue, which resulted in the judge dismissing them from the court and taking a break. Despite the argument, the trial continued with the sentencing phase. That concludes today's video. Thanks for watching.